All right, let's just jump right in. What if the cure for aging wasn't a miracle, but was actually a Trojan horse? Today, we're going to break down a story that feels like it's blurring the line between crazy science fiction and a future that might be just around the corner. It's a story about the promise of living forever and how that promise became humanity's absolute worst nightmare.
You know, the entire story we're about to unpack is really built on this one idea that the biggest, most dangerous deceptions are the ones we willingly accept. It's all about a beautiful, perfect promise that was hiding an absolutely terrifying truth.
So, we're not going to start at the beginning. Nope. We are dropping you right into the middle of the chaos, into a world that's already falling apart, a world that's dealing with the consequences of getting everything it ever wanted. So picture this. Cities that were supposed to be these beacons of new life, they're suddenly gripped by this new, strange kind of fear. The crime wave that's sweeping through them isn't random. It's not born out of desperation. No, this violence is precise, it's brutal, and the people doing it, they seem like there's something more and yet something so much less than human. And here's the kicker. The perpetrators aren't your typical criminals. They are the ones who received the miracle cure. They move with this unnerving, unnatural grace. They have these chillingly, perfectly symmetrical faces. But when you look into their eyes, there's nothing there. Just a cold, dead emotional void.
And that really brings us to the big question, doesn't it? How on earth did a technology that promised to end death itself end up creating a new kind of monster? Well, to figure that out, we gotta go back, way back to the beginning. Okay, so let's rewind the clock. Back to a time filled with this incredible optimism, a time when everyone believed humanity was about to achieve its greatest dream.
It all kicked off with this amazing scientific breakthrough, combining the pinpoint accuracy of CRISPR gene editing with therapies that could literally reverse aging in our cells. At first, they used it to repair organs, grow a new heart, a perfect liver, wildly successful. Then the global elite lined up for what they started calling the second genesis, full body rejuvenation. And pretty soon, this promise of forever was for sale to everyone.
But, while everyone else was celebrating, there was this one guy, Elias Vance. He was a bioethicist, and he was basically dismissed as some kind of crank, someone afraid of the future. But he saw something that nobody else wanted to see. He saw the storm coming. And the debate was pretty stark. On one side, you had Vance warning about what could happen if we permanently messed with our own DNA. But on the other side, the proponents just kept pointing to the data. It was flawless. They called him a Luddite, said his ethics were obsolete. And in a world that was just drunk on the idea of immortality, nobody listened. And for 2 wonderful, awful years, that data stayed perfect. It looked like Vance was wrong. But then, the first tiny cracks in that perfect facade started to show, and they led to an absolutely horrifying discovery. The first sign the public saw was actually super subtle. This famous tech billionaire, one of the biggest champions for the protocol, is on a live talk show. And right in the middle of the interview, his eyes just go blank. The host kind of laughs it off, but if you were really watching, you saw it. It was a flicker of something truly terrible. And wouldn't you know it, Elias Vance, the guy they'd all shut down, he had the answer. He figured out that the creators were so focused on turning back the clock on aging that they completely missed this other noise in the genetic data. And the huge mistake was this: the therapy wasn't just de-aging people, it was waking up ancient parts of our DNA that had been asleep for millennia. So what did waking up that dormant code do? Well, here's the horrifying trade-off. It cranked up the genes for things like height and intelligence, but it did so at a terrible price. It completely switched off the genes responsible for empathy. It didn't just cure aging, it re-engineered us into something new, something smarter, stronger, and utterly cruel. A new species that looked at regular humans, the naturals, as if they were just insects. Just when you think things can't possibly get any worse, the story drops its most terrifying bombshells, the truth about the next generation, and the reality behind humanity's supposed last hope. 7 feet tall. Just let that number hang in the air for a second. That's right, the children born to people who took the protocol were 7 feet tall by the time they were 7 years old. They were a completely new race, growing at this unnatural speed, quoting complex philosophy in these cold, flat voices. The second Genesis wasn't a marketing slogan anymore. It was literally happening.
So, as the world is descending into panic, a rumor starts to spread about a kill switch, some kind of last-ditch effort to reverse the protocol. But this is the final, soul-crushing betrayal. The kill switch was real, but it wasn't a cure. It was designed to target the naturals, us, rapidly speeding up our aging process. It was a final culling, a weapon to wipe the slate clean so the new species could inherit the Earth.
Now, I know this story sounds completely out there, like pure science fiction. But what's so unsettling is how its core ideas are anchored in very real science and in ethical debates that are happening right now, today. I mean, think about it. The story's protocol might be made up, but it's a terrifying parallel to real-world tech like CRISPR, which is already forcing us to ask if we should be editing our own permanent genetic code. The whole idea of rejuvenation mirrors actual research into telomeres, those little caps on our DNA that get shorter as we age. This story just takes those real scientific ideas and pushes them one step further, forcing us to ask these urgent questions. What are the consequences we can't see coming? And where do we draw that line between curing a disease and trying to engineer a better human? If this has your mind spinning and you want to dig deeper into these themes, there's some incredible reading out there. From the classic warnings in Mary Shelley's Frankenstein to modern deep dives on genetics and bioethics, these books give you so much context for the future that we are building right now, whether we realize it or not. And so, we're going to end with this question. It's really the heart of the whole story, and it's a heavy thought to carry with you. In our constant push for perfection, in our desire to overcome our own natural limits, we have to keep asking ourselves, at what point does the solution become a much bigger, much scarier problem than the one we were trying to solve in the first place?